Hi, everyone. I am back and I am with Neill Williams. Neill is a master life and scheduling coach, helping busy, overwhelmed female entrepreneurs simplify their schedules to 20 to 30 hours a week for the rest of their careers. Don't we all want that? Yes, we do. Thanks, Neill, for being here. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kathi, for letting me come on the show. I'm so excited to talk with you about this today.
Yeah. Okay. So, scheduling coach, I absolutely love that. What did you do prior to that? How did you come up with that career for yourself?
Yeah, so I was in the corporate world. I was actually an actuary. If anyone knows what that is, if you don't, it's totally fine. It's a numbers job, and I was managing a big team and really struggling with the amount of time that job and role was taking me to do. I was a mom, and I just got to the point where I was like, I didn't want to be working the 60 to 70, 80-hour work weeks anymore. But I wanted to still be making the money that I was making. And so everyone was telling me like, yeah, you can totally go part-time, but then you're not going to be able to make the money that you are. And I just refused to take that as an option. And so what I realized as I was going through this was that it's not the number of hours that anybody really cares about. Nobody cares how long I spent on something. What matters to them is that it's done, right? The accomplishment, the achievement, the value that's created inside the time. So I just set out on a journey to figure out like, how do I do the things I do just more efficiently and get them done, but using less time to do them. And I was able to scale back my corporate job to about 30 hours per week throughout that. And so then I was teaching my team how to do those things as well. And then I decided to start my own business to teach other people how to do this.
I was wondering that. So you didn't go cold turkey, you scaled back to half time. And then you said you were teaching your team how to do it. Was it the team for your new business or your existing business?
So I was doing it as a manager in my corporate role. I was teaching them how to use their time and be efficient and all of that. And then because I had scaled back my work week so much, I had the space to be able to create a business on the side. And so I did that in about 10 hours per week. And I just built it to be like much bigger than what I was receiving as my corporate income. So eventually I just decided to let that go.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, good job. Congratulations on that. And how long have you been doing this now?
So in my business is about 3 years in my own business. Yeah. So not too all that long. And I really worked my corporate job for the first 2, at least, maybe a little bit more than that. So I haven't been out on my own as an entrepreneur full-time for all that long.
Well, congratulations, and for those of you listeners who are out there who are thinking about making the leap, because I know we have the great resignation happening, it is possible. And Neill is proof of it right there, as well as myself and all the other guests that I have on my podcast. So we're all living images that yes, you can do it. You can quit your real job. Yes. And create a fun real job for yourself where you're the boss.
That's right. Yes. And you don't have to have a lot of time to do it in, quite honestly. You can do it very fast.
Yeah, especially if you handle your schedule, which is what we'll talk about next. So how do you help your clients solve the time management, take control of your life schedule?
Yeah, so for many of my clients are already business owners who have big businesses and their schedules are very big and inflated as well. So in that instance, I help them scale back their work week from the 40, 50, whatever it is, back to 30 hours or less, whatever their number is. And we do that through scheduling. I really believe that scheduling is the tool that allows us to get a lot done, really like create full-time results, but on a very part-time schedule. That is really at the core of what I teach. And so of course, there's a lot of techniques that go into that, but that is the idea.
Now, what do you do about the artistic creative entrepreneurs, which we all have as clients? How do you get them to adhere to a schedule?
Yeah, so schedule also, I think there's this connotation around it that is very restrictive and it's very like time blocky and back-to-back kind of thing. And I don't believe that about scheduling. I believe the whole idea behind a schedule is getting what you want done in the amount of time that you want to work. And there's lots of ways to do this. And we do want to honor the creative part of our brain. And so we want to give lots of space and time to that part of the brain when that's the part of the brain that we need functioning in order to accomplish the thing that we're doing. There's other times where we don't want to give as much space and time because So that creative part of the brain is the right hand side of the brain. The left hand side of the brain is more of the check the boxes, tick the things off, organized part of the brain. And for that one, having tighter time blocks and maybe scheduled things back to back is okay. It really depends on what it is that you're doing and what part of your brain you need to leverage in order to get the thing done. So schedule sometimes looks very open and fluid in some ways, and sometimes it is more of that back to back.
I totally dig that. Yeah. And it's good to think about, what hat are you putting on? That's the way I say it. What hat are you wearing? Are you wearing the fireman's hat? Are you wearing the coach hat? What are you wearing?
Yeah.
What part of the brain are you going to fire up? I love that.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting question for me to ask you, but because you're a time management queen here. So when you get burnout or overwhelmed, or you're just darn tired with your business, what do you do to recharge yourself?
I go away.
far away.
Yeah, I think really it's a matter of understanding, and I've gone through this where it's kind of like a roller coaster. Like my schedule is beautiful and I love it and it feels so great and I feel so spacious and I feel so filled up. And then it's pretty easy to like add too many things in, and then I'm like, oh, I noticed that I'm feeling really resistant to it. I'm feeling like I'm feeling overloaded a little bit, and then I have to start pulling things back. So I think it is an evolving thing, especially as businesses grow, because your schedule looks so different from one phase to the next. Like I like to think about when you talked about hats just a second ago, I talk about in your schedule, you're going to have your employee hat and you're going to have your CEO entrepreneur hat. And we need time in both buckets inside your schedule. Sometimes you're doing the things. It's very task oriented. It's very project oriented. That's you being the employee. Other times you're solving problems, you're creating vision, you're creating goals, you're doing all the creative high level work. And we need space and time for that. So oftentimes what I notice, this is like the litmus test for me, which might help for your listeners, is if I find myself spending more and more of my time doing, I know that I've lost the plot, because now I don't have the time and space to think about working on my business, and my business will probably suffer, and I will suffer energetically and feel overwhelmed and burnt out by that. So noticing it, number one, and then having the tools to be able to reverse it is number two.
Yeah. So are you in it or are you on it?
Yeah.
Right. Are you working inside of it? Because I mean, we all have to work inside our business, but the idea is to delegate out the things that we can so that we can work on our business for the big picture. Absolutely. Okay. So what's your favorite hack for entrepreneurs who want to create more freedom and want to be able to do this and handle it and be all energized and organized within their business and have freedom?
Yeah. My favorite idea here is going to be one probably your listeners haven't heard of, but instead of allowing time to be the solution to problems in your business or things coming up, take time as an option that's off the table. So what I see so often is something comes up in someone's business and they're like, well, I'll just work more to solve it. And before automatically going to that, because that's the easy answer, that's always the answer that your mind is going to tell you is the only answer, is just pausing for a second and asking yourself, if I didn't use time as the solution here, what are some other ways that I could accomplish this? And just pausing long enough to ask yourself that question will have you, instead of defaulting to more time where I'll just work this tonight and then it turns into I'll just work like a couple hours this weekend, and then pretty soon you're working the entire weekend. It's just this like snowball effect. So instead of engaging with that, letting time be the solution, come up with an innovation, come up with a new creative way of doing this that you hadn't thought of before. That is where you create a business that's easy to run in a few hours per week, is not relying on time for the solution, but coming up with the other solutions that where your creative brain actually has to go to work to find the solutions for you. So I think that not allowing time to be the answer.
Oh, I absolutely love that. That's so smart. That's so smart. No, love it. Okay. So if you had an organizing obstacle in your business, what is the obstacle that you had to really overcome within your own business?
Yeah, I think it was my schedule and my time. So
of course,
I built my business, it was very much on the side. And I had so many business coaches and mentors telling me that I had to quit my corporate job in order to be successful in this business. And I was like, that is just not the option for me right now. and I'm still going to create a successful business. So I really had to figure out like, what was it in my limited time that I had each week, which was about 10 hours per week? What is the thing that I'm doing in my time so that I'm moving my business forward? And so it was really me figuring out the right ratios of time to be spent in my business as an employee, where I'm doing my coaching and doing that, versus being the CEO and the entrepreneur, creating the value, offering the value, doing the sales and the marketing. So for me, it was figuring out the right organization of that schedule that then finally clicked, and then had it where my business was making money and I understood it, and it was kind of like rinse and repeat. So that was really the biggest obstacle for me. And I think it is for a lot of people who are doing their business as a side hustle.
Right. Absolutely. And even people who are not doing it as a side hustle, is to knowing that 80-20 Pareto principle, what 20% of my stuff is going to actually do something. Right. And, I'm one, I love being busy. So I'm a doer. I'm an action taker doer. Right. So I think I need to use your advice to be more cerebral, more analytical, because I'm absolutely action. And I think as entrepreneurs, often a lot of us are at that. Like, I'm not alone. Right.
I'm a doer too. I've just learned how to calm that down a little bit.
Yeah. Less do, more thought around what you're doing. Absolutely. Yeah. So, which leads us to the best pieces of advice. What would be, if you had to tell someone off the street, anything, any of our listeners here, what piece of advice would you give them, who want to launch into a new career or who have just started their career?
So I would say being really discerning about your time and really looking at it in those two buckets that I was talking about earlier. This is where I see the most overinflated schedules don't have these clearly delineated roles of your time being the employee versus the time being the business owner. It's like when we start business, we don't know what it means to be a business owner. We don't know exactly what it is we're supposed to do. And so we just don't even try and figure it out because we don't give ourselves time and space to be that and figure it out. So being very clear with yourself, maybe even making a list of, these are the things that I do as an employee, and these are the things that I do. This is my role and responsibility as the CEO and the business owner, and what proportion of my time makes sense to be doing both of those things. And depending on what kind of your business model is, those ratios will vary. So it won't be the same for everybody. And it's not going to be the same when you start your business as when you're 3 years or 5 years or 10 years in. There's going to be an evolution that happens. But being clear with yourself on those different roles, I think, is the most important thing. Yeah.
And know what you're doing. Yeah. I love that. Like, no, are you in it or are you on it? And I think and oftentimes just do, you're just doing it and not really realizing what part you're doing. And I'd like to feather that, put a feather in the cap of, if you find yourself doing stuff that is below the CEO level, think about maybe delegating some of that stuff out. Which I think is a great, everybody can use that as well. So I love that. You're very insightful. I would love to be in your brain and see how you figure all this out as you're working.
No, it's pretty scary in there.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So Neill, you probably have something for the guests and for the listeners. What would you like to offer them to help them catapult their life?
Yeah, so I have a 30-day planner, which is to build a coaching business in 10 hours a week, which is completely free. It gives you will get a weekly email from me with your to-do list and your weekly 10-hour schedule. And I take you through a couple of video trainings that teaches you like the ratio of your time, depending on if your business model looks like this. You want the ratio of the time that you're working in your business versus on it to look like this. And here's how you might set up your schedule. I also give you to-do lists and how to accomplish those to-do lists inside of that schedule that I send you. So totally free, amazing. I wish I would have had it when I was first starting out too, just to have an idea of like, so I didn't have to make those decisions about what should I be doing. I've already helped you. I've already made those decisions and created a schedule for you that will help you get those things done.
Absolutely. And I know you also have a podcast.
I do have a podcast. Yes. It's called Unbusy Your Life.
What?
What was that?
Where should they go to find your podcast, and what's the name?
Yeah. So the podcast and the 30-day planner are all available on my website at www.neillwilliams.com. Neill is Neill.
Excellent. Excellent. Everybody tune into that as well. That's a really generous gift that you're offering. And I hope that everybody takes advantage of it. You know, we can all use it no matter where we are in our business. It's always good to have more clarity around what we should be doing, what we should not be doing. That's always the ticket, right? What should we not be doing? Think about that. So,
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I will definitely put down below, you'll have all the download for that. Join up with Neill and also listen to her podcast, see what she has going on there. And we will see you soon. And thank you, Neill, for your time.
Thank you, Kathi.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you want to hear more, feel free to subscribe on the platform of your choice. Also, if you feel so inclined, I would truly appreciate a good rating from you to me. Have a stellar day.